All right, we have NFL football film analyst and former IWFL player Laurie Fitzpatrick on the podcast. What's up, Laurie?
Hey, what's going on? Thank you so much for having me. How you doing today?
Doing great. It's almost Friday, so we're
Yeah,
getting there.
Twitter is going off today right now, man. This vaccine stuff it's getting crazy. Today's a big day.
Yeah, how are things going in Philly?
Well, right now I'm actually in Miami.
Oh, wow. So
Uh,
down in
yeah, yeah,
Florida.
yeah, yeah. I'm in Florida now, guys. Come on, give me some love.
Nice.
Um, yeah, no, it's okay down here in Philly, man. Because I go back like once a month. Um, so I'm always kind of there. But right now it's doing pretty well. In terms of like, COVID, they're not really wearing masks as much. Like they are in the city of Philadelphia, but like in Jersey, they're not really wearing masks anymore because I'm actually from South Jersey.
Okay.
Um, so so yeah, they're kind of tired of it. So yeah, it's okay though. Miami's hot right now, man. I
Yeah.
know how Jacksonville feels now after being in this Florida heat. Woo! This hot as dude. I got in the car today. It was like 108 degrees
Oh, my
in the
Lord.
car.
I was there in September of 2019, so I saw the first Jags game against Kansas City, that the one where Nick Foles got hurt, and
Okay. Oh, you were there for that?
yeah, it was crazy. I was sitting, a crazy story. I was sitting right next to Jawan Taylor's cousin, right tackle,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, his family. So that was pretty cool. That was we had a cool, nice little conversation in the stands while it was 100 degrees. So that was kind of a crazy game because Miles Jack got thrown out of it. You remember that, where he was like throwing punches,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was a crazy game. A mental note taken not to go watch a game in Jacksonville in September because you will melt, literally.
Yeah, it's bad. I think I went to the Dolphins game. Like I think that was like in September too. And it's so hot. Like it's ridiculous, especially if you want to be where everybody is. I think it's section 124, 127, and that has no shade whatsoever. Like it's horrible.
I know.
They have those ice cool down sections though, which is cool. Like not in the stadium, like it's like in like when you walk back into the where you can eat food and everything. I forget what that's called, but they have
Concession.
those little
Yeah.
yeah, the concessions. Like they have like little stations where you can sit in like an ice like a chair that's so cold it's made out of metal. Then you got like the sprayers spraying at you. Oh
Yeah.
man, that feels so good. They need that in the seats.
Yeah, they need a canopy. I mean, just to protect people from that sun, because that Florida sun is so brutal sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, my wife and I are trying to go to a game in the Buffalo game, I think, which is in like November. So hopefully that'll be a little bit better. Well, we'll see what happens. But
Yeah, the Buffalo. That's going to be a good game. That it's always kind of about defense when Buffalo and Jacksonville plays each other. But since Buffalo did so good last year, that and now Jaguars have a better offense than they did. Well, at least my opinion. I think
yeah,
it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to mean something. It's going to
yeah,
be a good one. That's a good choice.
yeah. And we have a lot of friends that are Buffalo fans, so it's going to be a nice fun experience, and we'll give each other some hell. Talk some crap. But
Yeah, definitely got to smack talk.
yeah. But so we haven't, you haven't been on the show for a while, and I wanted to kind of catch up with you, talk some Jags, start off with the hiring of Urban Meyer. Wanted to pick your brain, get your opinion of it. I wasn't, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. What are your thoughts?
I think it's something that Jacksonville definitely needed. Um, because you think about they hired Gruden and there wasn't really much of a difference. Like the franchise and Chad Shad, Chad. Shad Khan, he was trying to, he was trying to make those moves, and he was trying to get guys in that were influential. But it wasn't enough because you still have like the players like Coach and Doug Marone, who's laid back, kind of lets the guys like do whatever they want, and that's what players coaches do. They're more laid back, but I think in order to kind of like change the organization, and the first step was kind of getting rid of Dave Codwell, and that wasn't the first step, but I just mean like that was an important step in the adjustment, and and I think it was a great hire, to be honest, because I think the Jaguars are one of the youngest teams. They have like one of the youngest rosters within the entire NFL. And what's more influential than one of the best college coaches ever, especially because these guys on the team are not so far out of college, because they're so young.
Yeah.
So I think it's a guy that they all respect. It's a guy that loves Jacksonville. And you're not going to get a coach that's in the NFL right now that is going to have the love for Jacksonville like Urban has showed that he has. So I think it's good. He actually cares about the city as well as the team, as well as winning.
Yeah. How do you feel about, college coaches and their transition to NFL? I mean, you have like Steve Spurrier would be a great example if I'm a Florida fan. Like Lou Holtz, Butch Jones, not having, Saban would be another good example. Going to the NFL and not having so much success, but do you think that could be a potential problem, or you think that Urban's just he's going to overcome it and be successful?
Yeah, I mean, you hope that they that he overcomes it and he becomes successful. He can be a guy like Pete Carroll. He was coach at USC and he was pretty successful. Then he moved into Seattle, which was not like a huge market when he moved over there. They weren't killing it or anything. But he made a change, and he got Russell Wilson, which he wasn't at the level that Trevor Lawrence was at, but it's a guy that can change a franchise, and I just think just as long as you put the right people in the right place, he thought a lot about defense and he cared a lot about his offense, obviously, but it's something where you just put the right guys in the right place, and you have to be more of a listener. Some college coaches, they come. I don't know if you know a lot of college coaches, but they are all on their high horse. They all cannot be told that they're wrong. It's because they're paid so much money to be the man where they are at. They control everything. And I think if Urban does have a little bit of that attitude, but that's a good thing. And I think just as long as you can kind of transition into kind of delegating more rather than taking it all and thinking you can own everything, it's just more about kind of delegating it. Instead of just taking over and think that what's best. So I think he's done a good job of that so far because he's gotten a good mix between the coaches that he's brought in. Some NFL coaches, some college coaches, but it's more about his trust. And there's nobody else that he can trust except himself. So he's using his own judgment. I just hope that people give him the time that he deserves, instead of it just being like one and done.
Right.
And there's also a side where I hope that he realizes that it may take more than 1 year to kind of get it all together too. Just because he's saying like he's having an issue with communication right now, and really being able to talk to his players and see his players more and be more, let me look in your eyes, let me feel you, touch you, like, and really have that tangible relationship. That's what he's used to. So coming from, the college and then now going into the NFL where, those rights are kind of stripped from you because these guys are adults now. But it's also, it's also about, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but, I hope that he understands that it's going to take more than 1 year too. Because of COVID too. So the NFL kind of taking those rights and COVID. I hope that he puts that in his brain. And if he doesn't get that many wins this year, like don't give up. Don't say, I'm out of here, blah blah blah. Like some people are saying that he has that type of attitude. I'm hoping that he doesn't.
Yeah, you got to give him a chance. And you made a great point. You brought up Pete Carroll and that I've always thought of that in my head as well, of a college coach that really made a great transition into the NFL and was very successful, Russell Wilson. And then you look at this staff that Urban brought on. I mean, Darrell Bevell used to be over in Seattle, I think he was offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, or I think he was offensive coordinator. And then you have, Brian Schottenheimer, who was over there as the quarterbacks coach. So he brought some people over from a system that's been fairly successful. And just to piggyback off of what you said, I don't look at rather this season, this 2021 season as, I don't have high expectations for it because it's his first year transitioning to the NFL. So I look at it as a rebuild. He's just trying to figure out what he has, the capabilities that they have offensively, defensively, and kind of see what happens. And then, that first initial draft as well. So I think it could be promising, but you have to give him a chance. I mean, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good that, he brought over guys that came from Pete Carroll, which I'm sure, he's instilled to be, a college coach. He was successful there, and, I'm sure those coaches that he was with kind of like Pete was able to pass over to them some of the knowledge that he, some of the drawbacks from being a college coach and then transitioning, but also the upside. And I feel like one of the huge differences is between defense. Defense is huge, and it's a huge transition from college to the NFL. Because in college, I feel like it's all about offense. You got to score points. You got to score points. And in the defense, in the NFL, it's like all about defense. If you have a good defense, then you have a good chance of winning, a game and being successful in general, because being able to stop an offense could still win you games.
Yeah.
So I think that, I think it's good that he brought over guys from Pete Carroll's team. Then you got the coach from the Ravens, Joe Cullen, who, and he's all about defense, right? So it's just about guys in the right place, right?
Yeah, exactly. I actually had Paul Spicer on the podcast today, and he was talking. He used to coach with Joe Cullen over in Tampa Bay and with the Jaguars, and had a lot of great things to say about him. And I think Joe Cullen has had a lot of success over in Baltimore. So I have actually really high hopes for the defense. I think the defense is going to do a lot better this season. We brought in a lot of great free agents like Roy Robinson Harris, like Malcolm Brown. And then we had Jay Tufele, who we drafted from USC. So I mean, and we have Devon Hamilton, who I think is going to hopefully shine a little bit more this season. He got hurt last season, kind of had that season-ending injury, but I think the defense is going to be better.
He started though. Yeah. He started really like doing he was getting a lot of penetration there. When he started kind of getting in his groove a little bit, and even Doug Colston too.
Yeah.
He ended up, getting a lot of pressure as well. But yeah, this defense, man, I that was one of my favorite pickups actually. Was the Roy Robertson Harris pickup from Chicago.
Yeah.
He's huge. You see that guy? Did you see his measurements? He's gigantic, man.
Yeah, he's a tree. I mean, he's a tall guy, and he can get a lot of pressure, like pass rush. He's a good pass rusher, and I think definitely going to help us with Dewan Smoot, and then Josh Allen. Hopefully, Caleb Von Chasen is steps up this year. I mean, he did okay, but I think he's kind of a project. I think, and hopefully he steps up again and plays better. But I mean, this could be a very, very much improved defense. I think the kind of the missing piece there is the secondary. And you have, C.J. Henderson and Shaq Griffin, who we brought in from Seattle. What are your thoughts on Shaq Griffin? You think he's going to help this secondary out?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's kind of like a guy that you saw in Barry Church, where he was a leader, man. He wasn't the guy that's going to take over the defense, and they're not going to do a complete 180 because of him. And the 2017 defense didn't either because of him, but he was a really good component on why they did well. He had that leadership. They called him like the grandfather, right? They were able to kind of go to him and talk to him about anything, because he was with the Cowboys and he had a lot of experience. And I think Griffin is a guy that's kind of like that. He's been with a successful defense, and I think he's going to bring a lot of that knowledge over. I do wish that there was a little, like, I wish that they had a little more experience in the safety position.
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about the cornerback room. I feel like, man, they got it on lock. Like after bringing in Tyson Campbell, with C.J. Henderson, who I think is going to play really, really well, and then Shaquille Griffin, man, I think they're going to have the wide receivers on lock. I'm really just nervous about like the safety position, like you're saying, the secondary, man.
Yeah, we had Daniel Thomas, who was a standout rookie last year. Got hurt, but did some stuff on special teams, and I was pretty impressed. I had him on the podcast as well last year, and
Oh, you did nice.
yeah, and then Rayshawn Jenkins, who we picked up from Los Angeles, I think he's gonna kind of pick up some of the slack there in terms of veteran leadership in the secondary. But then you have Andre Cisco, who's kind of the wild card, in my opinion. Reminds me a lot of Donovan Darius, and it's kind of funny. They both
Ooh.
went to Syracuse, hard hitters, and he's fast. Andre Cisco could be kind of the breakout defensive player, along with Tyson Campbell, who you mentioned. And I guess you had done some film analysis on him, right? I was looking at your Twitter feed, and you had mentioned that you had some good things to say.
Yeah, I did a whole breakdown on him. I believe I released a video on YouTube as well. Because I'll after I release an article sometimes, well, I'm trying to do it more and more often now. But every time I release an article on a player, I like to go on my YouTube channel and kind of break them down a little bit more with the film. Because my articles can only contain so many videos with words, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the videos, like, and you just need your voice behind it to really like break it down. The telestration only does so much, but yeah, Tyson Campbell, man, I think he's going to be one of the top corners in the next couple years. He came out his junior year, but he has all the measurables to be successful. He's tall, he's fast. So I think he's going to learn a lot from Shaquille Griffin. And, C.J. Henderson, I think, is the guy to do it now. And Tyson will be like that nickel guy. But Tyson can also play on the outside, too. So I'm kind of excited to see how that ends up working out. But I do like C.J. more to fit that role now. And then maybe Tyson Campbell to kind of maybe take over after Shaquille. Maybe he plays for a couple years. But I really like Tyson Campbell. He covers guys really well. He can stay with you hip for hip, like no matter what.
Yeah, and I would assume that he would be taking over DJ Hayden, like his kind of nickel back spot. And then like you said, he's like that guy. He's like a plug and play corner. He can do both. He can play man, and then he can play nickel or zone or all different types of coverages. So I agree that I think that'll be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, like he's yes, like since DJ Hayden, I think he didn't get re-picked up or anything. They were trying to say like maybe Trey Herndon would take DJ's spot. But I think Tyson, he just hasn't, once he gets out there, once he actually gets his chance, I think he's going to take over for Trey Herndon.
Yeah.
A lot of people like Trey. I mean, I do, but he kind of left a sour taste in my mouth after, I'm not trying to put a lot of pressure on him, but after Jalen left, it was just like, Trey was there and he just got picked on, man. He got picked on bad.
Yeah, they threw to his side a lot. I mean, and the penalties.
Yeah, it was just bad. And so like now he's kind of put in a position where he doesn't have to take all the load, which is good. And And he was kind of doing that last year as well. But I think eventually, like, I don't know if he has, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think he has what Tyson Campbell has. And I think Tyson is going to be the guy that, like you said, he's going to step up and kind of take that position away. I think he's going to be the third guy. Maybe like mid-season, I think that will probably happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even. This is just me, honestly. I don't even see Trey Herndon making the team, but that's just me. I think there's just a lot of depth at the corner spot with draft picks and some of the free agents we picked up. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, there were some like some positive things that came out about Trey, saying that he was one of the guys that stepped up the most, like after this off season. Like he looks like he's in shape, and I forget who said it. Somebody on the team. It may have been Shaquille Griffin that mentioned Trey Herndon.
Yeah.
Sometimes though guys do that when other guys are on the cusp because they want to keep them on the team. Like, oh, Trey's the best, like because that's his boy, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
So it could be a little bit of that, but maybe it is a little valid where maybe he came in looking a lot better than what he did last season. So, I guess we'll kind of see. Then there's also Sidney Jones too.
Yeah.
He got burned a little bit, but he also made some good plays. He also got his hands in there.
That Green Bay game.
That's gonna be.
That Green Bay game was crazy. He played really well in that Green Bay game, and he stepped up. I don't know. I think that, and that's what I was saying. I think he takes maybe Herndon's spot. I don't know, but I mean, I was very impressed by Sidney Jones last season. So who knows? But going back into the draft again, I wanted to talk about that. Obviously, we all feel pretty good about Trevor Lawrence, number one pick. But then again, you hear about Gardner Minshew having a good, good OTA.
Just heart and balls, man, heart and balls.
And I don't know what I mean with his injuries and this offensive line. Do you see potential of him not being ready maybe week one and maybe Gardner getting a start because of, like, I don't know, maybe shoulder injuries, or I heard some stuff going on with his hamstring in some of the press conferences that Urban Meyer did.
It's I think he's going to be ready. That's so tough though, isn't it? Gardner even. I mean Gardner. Yeah, Gardner. What am I talking about? He even cut his hair.
Yeah, what's going on
he
with
cut
that?
his hair off because he's like, I'm not gonna be long hair behind Trevor and take the back seat. Like my hair was where it was at last year. Now y'all got a new set of head. Come on. He was like, no. I'm gonna take over with my skill set instead. I mean, I was always a big fan of Gardner. Um, but it's just like, in that second year whether a guy is going to be able to kind of take over. And the quarterback position is funny because it's the hardest position, right? You have to know a lot of things, and there are sometimes like late bloomers, right? But this is a business, so if you're blooming late, and we have a chance to get the best guy, like too bad, too sad type of thing. I think Trevor is going to be fine week one, and it's just a shame because he does look good. Like he looks like super fit. His fundamentals look great. There were times where him and Trevor were throwing side by side, and I liked Gardner's ball better than Trevor's. I was like, dang, okay. But I think I don't know if he's going to be okay with taking the back seat. Because I think he does have something.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be interesting if he ever gets some time out there. I don't know if he will. It's just tough because they don't really have a good backup, and I think Minshew would be perfect. Let's say I don't think there's a piece of wood all the way over there, but if anything happens, you want to have a guy like Gardner back there, but
Yeah.
he thinks that he deserves better. And of course, I want you to think that if you're my quarterback. Like I want you to have that like Little Wayne mentality, like I'm the best in the world.
Yeah.
Like you have to think like that, or you will fold. So I like his mentality. I just don't think that he's gonna get much playing time. I think Trevor is going to be 100% fine. Maybe Trevor just needs to kind of run a little bit and get maybe in better shape. Usually hamstring injuries come from, tightness.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just like Trevor's got to get in like, game shape maybe. I've always been the one. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No worries.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I've always kind of been the one to take quarterbacks like an approach like Aaron Rodgers. I like when really good quarterbacks come out of the college game and they sit. I like that because it gives you time to really soak everything in, and then it also like it also gives time for the fans also to like really know what you have and to really work on your craft and give you that chance when you're ready instead of throwing you in there like they're going to do with Trevor, which they kind of have to do because he's that good and you don't want to sit a guy like that. The opposite end could happen. What if Gardner does really well and now you got this awesome freaking quarterback sitting on the bench and it's just like, oh man, so you have to play Trevor, but I like the whole idea of guys coming out of good quarterbacks coming out of college and sitting. Like, I don't mind that. Maybe halfway through the season he steps in and then takes over for the rest of the season. I think that's better than just throwing a guy out there to the wolves who maybe isn't ready. Like, so it's all, you just have to trust Urban, right, at this point.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think people are a little unrealistic about quarterbacks. Quarterbacks generally take 3 to 4 years to develop. And now the expectations kind of change where it's like, hey, first year out there, we expect you to start and start winning games. So I don't know where that happened or why that changed, but I agree with you. I don't think there's any issue sending Gardner out there to start a couple games until Trevor gets accustomed to the system or reading defense. So
I think it's maybe the media.
Yeah, there's like this kind of thing going on. I don't know what it is, like this competition thing or this hate thing against Gardner Minshew. And I'm like, I don't care either way as long as we win. But I noticed that Gardner does, like when he goes in there, the team rallies around him. I think he's respected. Do I think he has some limitations in terms of like physical? Like, is he? Can he see over the offensive line? That may be a little challenge. I think that's where Trevor kind of has the advantage with that, or maybe arm strength. Trevor's got some I would say better arm strength than Gardner, but Gardner makes plays. I mean, he wins games. He can read defense. He can get out of the pocket. He can kind of do it all. It's just what did the Jags do, right? What does Urban do? That's going to be I think a key decision.
I think it's interesting to note that, Gardner didn't play when they wanted to lose. They didn't put him in there.
Yeah.
They didn't put him in there because he lied about his hand injury, so he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do when he was in there because he was injured, which I think that's the coach's fault. That's not Gardner's fault. As a player, you want to play no matter what. No, I'm fine, coach. I'm fine. I think of the Mighty Ducks reference, and I think of the scene where he makes the kid hold the stick out when he says, "My wrist is fine, my wrist is fine." And he makes him hold the stick out, and then after 3 seconds, he eventually drops it, right? Because it's the coach's job to find out if a player isn't doing well. They didn't care. They didn't care if he wasn't doing well because maybe they wanted to lose by that point, which. And then they benched him because of that. And it was just like, I don't think they really benched him because of that. It was just like, I think that he doesn't take chances. I think that he's a little scared of his limitations. So when a guy like DJ Chark he gets amazing separation. Throw the ball downfield. What are you doing? He hesitates way too much. So I think it could be a little mental where this year, he comes in and he doesn't have that, he doesn't have the franchise on his back. And if he gets hurt, then they have Jake Luton to throw in there and then he's done. No, I think maybe this year he can take chances because it's like, you know what, this is all or nothing now.
Yeah.
Like I have to, because he wasn't coming from behind and taking a win. No, he could win when his team put him up. You know, he wasn't taking over the offense ever. He was just, you know, playing to his best abilities, and sometimes like it was enough, you know, and he was making those plays. He was extending the plays, but he wasn't like making the reads and throwing darts downfield and letting his amazing receivers get a chance to catch the ball. He wasn't doing that. It either had to be perfect or he wasn't throwing it.
Yeah.
And like that is what really pissed me off about his play and like his hesitation. But that's something that's mental. So that's where it's tough to decide, like, because he has the skill set, you know, he can do it. He did it year one, but then year two, and like I think he just kind of fell backwards where, you know, the defenses started to really know his game, and he had to rely on his eyes and going through his reads, because maybe the third read was where it was, like who was open. And looking back at the film, that was the case. But he wouldn't stay in the pocket. He would just run out. And
Yeah.
we don't need another Blake Bortles, man, to run over 100 yards. We want a quarterback that can trust their arm. And
Yeah.
so I think, you know, he has that, you know, he has that mental state, I feel like now, you know, and just being full of yourself is not what's going to take you to the next level. Like he's kind of like, oh, you know, I got this, not the mohawk, but the
Mullet.
other. Yeah, he's like, I got the mullet, I'm the man, like blah blah blah. I'm pretty sure his his burner account, like, got him and I got into an argument like after I posted some clips about his play. And
Was
he's
it
like,
like
oh,
Darth-
the offensive line. Yeah,
Darth
yeah. And he's like,
Minshew?
oh, like the offensive line, you know, the injuries. And like, it's always an excuse. Like there was every other excuse except him taking responsibility for not throwing the ball downfield and not taking those chances. I love him as a quarterback. I love his play. He, like you said, he can do everything. He can run. He has the vision. He can, you know, he doesn't have a huge arm, but he can make the throws. But he wasn't doing it. He just simply wasn't doing it. And I was trying to figure out why. I released a video on my YouTube breaking down a lot of those plays where he just hesitated. And it was a lot of hesitation.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to try to make excuses for him, Laurie, but I think you have to factor in a few things. I think offensive coordinator changes. I mean, they've had
oh yeah,
John
definitely.
DeFilippo, you know, Jake Gruden. So, I mean, there's that, but and then now he's another one. He's got Darrell Bevel. So it's like, hopefully there's the consistency factor, but no, I agree. I think that to piggyback off of what you said in terms of like being hesitant and kind of dancing around the pocket. I remember that Houston game of 2019 in London where he threw all those picks and he just didn't seem comfortable back there. I don't know what it was. It just didn't seem like he was, I don't know if it was reads or, you know, it was his rookie season, but he just didn't seem like he had the confidence. So definitely agree with you there. And hopefully maybe this year he's like, you know, hey, screw it. Right. Like,
Yeah.
what do I have to lose?
Because he has the skills.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we saw it year one. Like he was awesome. I was like, oh my gosh, did they really find this guy out of nowhere?
Yeah.
And then he just.
Yeah. It could be the strategy to tank too, to get Trevor Lawrence, but I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist here.
No. And I think it had something to do with it because in order to tank for Trevor Lawrence, they literally benched him. And like, what does that say? That means that you're good enough to win, but they don't want to win. So I feel like that in itself right there is saying that he's good enough because they had to bench him in order to lose.
Yeah.
And like, and the worst thing you can do with a quarterback is play a quarterback and then bench him and then play another guy and then bring him back in. Cause I think they brought him in like, you know, 2 times, but there was like 3 games in between that they benched him. And it was like, you need consistency as a quarterback. You need rapport. The wide receivers need rapport.
Yeah.
Like in order, you know, timing and separation. That's what you need. And like the only way to, you know, lose is let's just throw all these different guys in here, and there's no way that, you know, the cohesiveness is going to be there. And football is the ultimate team sport. So I think he's good enough.
Agreed.
You know, to sit, and that's why, because he's good enough to sit them. So I agree with you there, definitely.
Yeah, we go to our with the next draft pick, Travis Etienne. We draft a running back in the first round, and when I was watching this, I kind of groaned a little bit initially. I was like, "Oh boy, here we go. We learn from the first go around? We drafted Leonard Fournette, who I like, who I'm wearing his jersey right now, who I wish was still on the team. But how do you feel about this draft pick? I mean, it was kind of unexpected.
Yeah, man, you're hitting me with haymakers right now. It grew on to me a little bit. But it's so tough because I love James Robinson. What he did his rookie year, 1,000 all-purpose yards for being undrafted. It just goes to show you the value of the running back position in terms of like what scouts know, and what they don't. So there's a little bit of me that kind of says like, okay, why draft a running back at first overall when you can get a guy later? So like the football like coach in me and the football like all 22 film person in me was pretty upset because like you can get that value later because you have a guy in that position that is more than capable of being your starting running back, your 3-down back to take all 3 downs, first down, second down, third down, right? But there were times where his getaway speed was not there, where he, broke loose, but then he got caught.
Yeah.
They say speed can't be taught, but we're in 2021. It actually can be taught now.
Yeah.
Guys have actually gotten faster. And one thing that he worked on was his speed. But now it's like, now you draft a guy in ETN who's faster. He's faster by like a whole second or two in the 40, which, yeah, you have no pads and everything. But I think they're going to play different roles. And so I wrote an article on that too. And it kind of grew on me a little bit where I had to look into Urban's past to see why would he do this? Like, why would he use the value of this pick, on a guy like ETN? So you look at Urban and then you look at who else was on the board at that value, at that pick. And honestly, there was a defensive end, I think the guy from, Miami that people were, or was it line? I think that was a linebacker from Miami that he ended up having the heart condition that came out. I forget his name. But he was on the board. And there was the safety from TCU, Moreira. He was still on the board. But honestly, there was not a ton of value that was going to change the team if you made the pick in that spot. So I think it's like now going back to the Urban side of it. So first it was like, let's see what other picks are there at that value. And there weren't really many picks there left at that spot that would have been, a higher value to the team. And then I went back and I looked at Urban Meyer's past, right? I looked back at when he was a coach at Ohio State. I looked back, when he was a coach, with his other teams basically. And I saw who were the running backs and who were the flex type of guys. And he had 2 running backs a lot of the time. He had a big guy that could really, knock people over. Then he had a wide receiver type of guy who can sometimes line up in the backfield, and he runs some 2-back sets. So I think it's going to be something where they're going to be on the field sometimes at the same time. They don't have really a tight end, that is going to take over. But I can't say either of these guys can really pass protect well, but it's something that you can learn also. And I think that, picking up the tight end, what was it, Manhertz? He's a really good blocking tight end. So Manhertz, he was from Carolina. Yeah, he's a tall guy and he's a really good pass protector. But I still think they're going to come out in a lot of two-back sets and they're going to use ETN in the pass catching game, and they will still use James Robinson as like your three down back. But ETN is going to be sprinkled in there a bit. I still think he was a little like he got picked up a little too high. But maybe there's something that I don't know. Maybe there's something that we don't see on how he's going to be used that's really going to change this offense. It did scare me though. I was unhappy when they picked that pick. I was pretty like, damn, like what are they doing? But after I did some research, the research makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I kind of see him as a receiver's back, like a kind of like a Chris Thompson, like, is going to go out, or a TJ Yeldon catching balls out in the flats. But, I was a little disappointed as well because I was like, well, we have some needs here on the offensive line, definitely at left tackle. I think we should have probably been a little bit more aggressive with, especially given the kind of the left tackle draft class with, Rashawn Slater and like Alex Leatherwood and all those guys and Christian Darrisaw. I thought we could have maybe
that's true
gotten a guy that we could have developed. I think we would have had to trade some of our, talent away for that. But also tight end. I mean, Brevin Jordan, he was like another guy that out of Miami. I thought maybe could have been another tight end that we, was a faster kind of more of like a wide receiver, playing tight end, like Kyle Pitts. But that's kind of where I wanted to go in the first, for that pick rather. But, like you said, maybe I don't see something. Maybe Urban sees something. Maybe it's the chemistry between him and Trevor Lawrence that he's going for. Maybe they're like this dynamic duo. But I think time will tell.
Yeah. And in the article that I wrote, I talked a lot about about that rapport that they had. It's just like I didn't really like what Trevor had to say. He was just like, oh, like we got him, like that's cool. Like he works really hard. Like that's like when you have a girl, right, and she's like not super hot, and she's like, oh, she has a good personality, and it's just like, but like, and like I just feel like, oh man, so many women are gonna hate that I even said that just now, but honestly, it's just like when a guy isn't super good but he works hard, it's just like you talk about that. Instead of saying like, dude, he's amazing. Like, man, he can outrun anybody. He can catch the ball. Like he can juke people. He can break tackles. Like none of that is mentioned. It's just like, oh, he's a really hard worker and he's smart and he pays attention. Like I like the guy. It was just like I kind of wish that he gave us a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that's Trevor too, right? He's not like gonna give you everything. That's one thing that one of his critiques was that he doesn't have the oomph. He's not gonna live and die by football. He's gonna, people were saying that his mentality isn't there, but maybe that's his approach to describing ETN. And maybe there's more to that than what is just on the surface. Which, sometimes that's what media does. We overthink things and we wish that there was more of something that's not really there. But their rapport is something that, that's important. And he's tall and he has that getaway speed that James Robinson doesn't have. So it's just about kind of using him at the right time. To really know. Right. And running backs don't have a full life. Like, they play like years and they're kind of motor runs. So
yeah, it's tough. They
maybe sharing those carries.
They take a beating, but running backs are people too. But so how do you feel about Walker Little, left tackle we drafted out of Stanford? I was a little surprised by this. Sat out his senior year because of COVID, but a lot of people are saying good things about him. He's got great size and good footwork, but what are your thoughts?
So when I watched film on him, it wasn't great. And maybe that's because it was 2019. It wasn't 2020 because he sat out. And, you know, as an offensive lineman, I think that the more time that you have in a position, the better that you are. And sitting out 2020, I think was a big hit for him. But he still, he ended up getting drafted, and now he has a chance to kind of take the job away from Cam Robinson. I think Cam is better at stopping those really good edge rushers. When I watched Walker Little against like top end edge rushers in college football, he lost that battle a lot of the time. But he was really good. He was really good, and he had he has good size for those guys that don't have a ton of moves. He's smart, so he can protect the stunt really well. So when a guy kind of goes off of him a little bit and somebody else comes around, he picks that up. But guys that have really physical rushing moves, like the swim and kind of spinning around, and like he isn't as physical as those edge rushers. And like I said, this was 2019, 2018 film that I watched, so he was still young. So he had that year to kind of sit out and work on his technique a little bit. I would love to see him against this week and next week for this mini camp, go against these really good edge rushers. Like I want to see him against our boy Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I want to see how he can do against him, because when I was watching that film, man, he was getting beat up. Like, it was bad. I was like, damn, was this a good pick? But he is smart, and he's tall. Like, he has the size. I think he's 6'7". He's ridiculously big.
320.
Yeah. And so he definitely has the size. He has the widths. But it's just against those really hand fighting and the physicalness of those edges. Man, it wasn't that good. I was a little concerned, to be honest. He let up some pretty good, like a lot of sacks. But this was the top end rushers, like the really, really good ones that were drafted high.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take away like his skill set or anything, but I think he's a rookie for a reason. I don't think he's gonna, he'll play a little bit because they want to get the rotation and see how he's gonna do. So I'm just hoping that the year off like really helped him kind of gain that muscle and maybe gain that hand speed, because it was more about hand speed, not the footwork, because the footwork he can get back. He shuffles back really quick, and he's good at that. But it's just like I'm hoping the hand fighting, he gets a little bit better at.
I think for me, like I'd agree, he's a good pass. He's got some good footwork. I hope that his run blocking gets better. Like on the film I was watching, he was kind of walling guys off. He's not blowing the defensive lineman off the ball. He's not a mauler per se. So that's a little concerning for me. And then he had some knee injury issues. So and so did Cam Robinson, honestly. So it's like, I just don't know how much of an upgrade we got with him. I think he's going to be a project, but maybe I'm wrong.
I agree. No. I agree 100%. And that's why when you mentioned, instead of ETN, there were some offensive lineman guys that were there. And I agree with that take 1000%. Because like this offensive line, this draft was deep in offensive line, but the tiers still matter. So the tiers and being a really good offensive lineman. And what he came from Stanford, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, Stanford, I don't think they're playing against all the time. He's not getting that like the top end skill set that he's lined up across from. So I think, like you said, he's going to be a little bit of a project, but he has the measurables to be really good. He has the foot speed, he has the height, he has the weight, he has the intelligence. It's kind of like a Tyson Campbell a little bit. Maybe he was a little premature because you only have 2 years of playing college football at the top level, and so the NFL is a whole different game. So I think that that maybe they could have got an offensive lineman that could have been a better suit to take over for Cam.
Yeah.
But I think this is why they believe in Cam Robinson. I do too, honestly. I like Cam. I don't want him to go. Like, honestly, I like him. Like, but yeah, I don't see Walker Little being a huge competition against Cam. I think he's going to be a little bit of a project, but I think it's a good project to take on.
Yeah.
I think, but I hope that Cam gets that new contract if he can stay healthy and if he doesn't freaking jump off sides, because that was the worst. Either he jumps off sides or he's hurt. So, I think there was a huge play that got taken back last year because he jumped off sides.
Yeah.
Or there was a holding or something, and it was just like so deflating. I don't remember what play it was. I don't remember what game it was, but James Robinson did something really good.
Yeah.
And it got taken back.
I want to say it was maybe that Indy game. I don't know where he ran in for a touchdown and it was called back, but I can't believe.
Yeah. He knocked some guys over. He trucked them over, and it was brought back. That's right.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville was like number 2 in penalties. They gave up 1,000 yards, like 1,000+ yards last year in penalties. Like essentially gave up James Robinson's 1,000-yard rushing season in penalties. And I'm hoping they get better. I mean, maybe that's a coaching thing. I don't know, but hopefully it gets better.
Definitely.
All right, so I want to be conscious of your time, Laurie. I'm going to go kind of rapid fire here. Roster predictions. We'll start off. I want to start off with tight end. Tim Tebow. You think he makes the team?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. No.
You don't think so?
No, I mean, it's tough because I don't know Urban. I don't know how Urban feels. Maybe he feels like, Tim Tebow is a little bit of project at that position, and just as long as he gets the reps, I think we'll know after the preseason game because he's gonna play. So I think no, unless he shows something crazy in this preseason game. If he makes a crazy catch where he knocks some dude on his ass, or sorry, he knocks some guy on his butt, a defender. I'm gonna say no unless he does something in this preseason game.
Okay. We'll go to quarterback next. Jake Luton. Did he make the team?
No.
Okay.
And he just got put on COVID-19 list as well.
Okay.
By the way, today, just saying. Him and I don't remember who, but him and somebody else on our team got him and Tony, Kadarius Tony.
Okay. Got
put on COVID, but no, I don't think he makes the team. No.
What's going on? He's got to get vaccinated. But we'll jump around here. Defensive tackle Doug Costin. You think he makes the team?
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Absolutely.
And then kicker. So we have who wins the job, Josh Lambo or Aldrick Rosas?
Lambo.
I like that pick.
Dude, he's a killer, man. This guy is kicked lasers.
Yeah.
So if they don't see that, man, they don't watch his film. That's gonna be a shame because I like Lambo a lot.
All right, season prediction next year, 2021 season. What's the record?
Oh man, I'm gonna say 6 wins.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So
I was going to go one below. I was going to go 5-12, but yeah, I think it's a rebuild season. So that's fair. So let's wrap up. Appreciate you coming on the podcast. What else do you have going on? Yeah, I know you're doing more stuff with, I think it was like Jaguar Report, right? With SI or.
So I was with them, but I ended up I was kind of like volunteering with SI and kind of writing articles when I could. But I ended up getting picked up by USA Today.
Awesome.
Got a full-time position.
Congrats.
Yeah, so Thanks, man. I'm doing more than just Jacksonville right now. I did the Draft Wire, Touchdown Wire with USA Today, and also my Ponytails Talking Pigskins YouTube channel.
Awesome. We'll check it out. And Laurie, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. During the season, mid-season, after preseason, I don't care. Let's do it. I love talking Jaguars, and make sure you guys follow me. I can't wait for it to come out. Thank you so much, dude.
Duval! What's up, everybody? It's Andrew from the Jaguar Podcast. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, there's more content over here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as always. And remember, this is a podcast, so you can find this pretty much wherever you find podcasts. There I'll be doing interviews of current and former Jaguars players, including Joe Schobert, DeJuan Smoot, Shaq Quarterman, etc. And I also do interviews of former Jaguars players, including Natron Means, Jimmy Smith, Tom McManus, etc. So be sure to check out the podcast, subscribe to it, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, go Jags, and I'll see you next time.